to do with all these extra body parts? Alex, things a serial killer would say. Or people who own this awesome custom Mr. Sinister on Throne statue would say. I'm Mr. X. You've tuned into the Extreme channel where we have another custom piece. We're all about extreme collectibles and specifically statues, and we go really extreme. So this is a custom 1/4 scale Mr. Sinister on Throne. Custom, as we always talk about, we don't talk about where it comes from. They're sold out anyway, but it is a private commission that they usually make less than 100. They made 40 of this one. And I have the exclusive version, which has an additional head switch out. Mr. Sinister is an X-Men villain. Was very popularized in the 90s cartoons. You know what I'm talking about?
Previously on X-Men.
So awesome. But this is Mr. Sinister on Throne. I purchased him because I love Throne pieces. I love X-Men pieces. I love custom pieces. I love 1/4 scale. This means he's 4 times smaller than he'd be in real life. So I went all out. I can't remember the cost on him. It was around, I think, $1,200 or $1,300 because you get a lot, as you can see. And we're going to discuss all of this in an extreme review. We're going to look at the paint, the sculpt, the concept, the design, the overall factor of the statue. We're going to grade it on a scale we always use. If you don't know what that is, go check out some previous reviews. But this guy, as you can see, is massive. And I don't even know what to say about him. I love the concept. Oh, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's measure him. That's always a good starting point. The base is huge. The diameter of the base is probably close to 23 inches. And tall is 21 or so with him sitting down. He's going to command a lot of real estate. I'm going to have to rethink where I was going to put him. At the end, I'll show you where I decided to put him, and you'll travel into the future and check that out. But let's jump right into the extreme review because there is so much to cover on this piece. First thing we always talk about is concept. When we talk about concept, is it cool? Does it follow a storyline? Is it a made-up line that makes sense? What is going on with this statue? Starting at the bottom, we'll go up here. So Mr. Sinister, most Throne pieces have either the heroes or the villains, and they've vanquished all their enemies. There is no exception with this piece. He's vanquished Cyclops and Wolverine, Magneto, Professor X, and he's sitting there in his chair, and he's very Sinister-like, hence his name. And the switch-outs actually do tell a little bit different of a story, which we're going to look at in design. But they all point to the fact that he is a conqueror, he's vanquished his enemies, he's extremely evil, he's extremely intelligent, and his throne, we didn't really talk about it too much, is all this futuristic tech stuff, which kind of ties into the character of Mr. Sinister. Mr. Sinister technically wasn't originally a mutant, but he had some superpowers and he made himself a mutant, and there's this whole storyline. But he has telepathy, so he can read your mind. He also has telekinesis. He can shoot out energy projections. He's a genius. He has a number of other powers too, depending which storyline you read down. But ironically, one of the switch outs actually points to the Age of Apocalypse story, which we're going to talk about. And some may that I don't even know about. So if I'm wrong or I don't mention something, please put it in the comments. But I love the concept. It shows Mr. Sinister. The portraits are awesome. They really show how evil he is. He's extremely powerful. He regenerates. He's hard to kill. He can't be killed, really. So they definitely demonstrate that. And there is so much going on the throne. One of the things you're going to see is the back is just as busy as the front. So this really could be a centerpiece, which is kind of neat. It's more of a design thing. But I honestly think on this one, we give the concept. Here's the thing. There's not many Mr. Sinister pieces out there at all. So if you're going to make one, go all out and make it phenomenal. I think they did. I think they captured everything about Mr. Sinister. This isn't only a Throne collection. It's an X-Men piece. There's one other custom Mr. Sinister that has been announced. Well, there's multiple ones, but that I'm really interested in that I actually have on PO. But this one's going to be tough to beat by anybody as far as the concept. So let's give the concept... I'm going to give it an X. I seem hesitant to, and I'm not sure why, but we will definitely give this an X. I don't think I could have improved it at all. Next category we talk about is design, and honestly, we will probably spend more time talking about the design of this piece than paint and sculpt because there's so much going on and so much to talk about, both good and some negative. But let's start with how he came. He came in 2 large boxes. Check this out right here. Within each box, it was the custom black foam with straps, cardboard tops. The first box actually had 2 layers, and I'm trying to remember what I took pictures of, but there were so many different pieces to this guy. I'm showing you a couple of the different layers now. Again, I can't remember what I took pictures of. But everything was packed extremely well. Not only did it have foam pieces to secure it within the wrapping, but outside the wrapping. So very pleased with the packing job. And there are over 40 pieces to this. Ironically, it didn't take me as long to assemble it as I thought it would because when it comes to custom pieces, there's really no guide on most of these. And even if there was, we don't use instructions on the Extreme channel. So got them all together. There were a few casualties, so let's talk about those really quick. First, right up front here, a tube coming off Cyclops' head was broken off, but very, very easy fix. Not going to lose sleep over that. Right here, where one of the cape pieces inserts, part of the shoulder is chipped off the second I put it in. It fell right off. Some other interesting things about the design. Take a look at the back. See these guys right here? You can tell that they go up in that riser right above it, but you don't know which one goes where, and they don't connect very well. I may have them in wrong. Here they are completed. Another issue on the shipping, where Wolverine's hand is in here, the resin on the inside, the clear resin, has a huge crack. Looks nasty, and it's right at top right here. So this, I think, after Chinese New Year, I will see if they can get me a replacement because this is really a big bummer. The rest of the stuff I can live with. Then while we're bashing some stuff, let's keep doing it. So these cape pieces, first of all, some are labeled, some are not. Big deal. It's a little difficult to figure out which goes where. And they don't go in very easy, and they definitely don't stay in. I'm worried if I pick this up and take it somewhere else, it'll actually fall apart. So that's definitely a big concern. I guess it is what it is. But hopefully they just stay in there. They look great. That's the good thing. But I have to think they could have magnetized them. There was one of the 14 that was magnetized. So they could have done something. And some have pins. Some just sit in there. Kind of a disadvantage. With the design, there's some smart things, though, too. Like these right here are just magnets that fit right in. That was very smart. Everything else keyed in really well. Like I said, it was pretty easy to assemble. You actually didn't need too many instructions because the key shapes were pretty unique. So using common deduction. The scale, I think, is accurate for 1/4. He may be a little small. She never said that, but he may be a little small for Mr. Sinister. He's definitely probably a 6-foot character. I don't know how tall he is in the comics. But one thing is, Magneto's helmet down here is way overscaled. It's absolutely overscaled. You can tell by looking at it. And just for fun, I put it on Mr. Sinister's head. Here's a picture of that. I couldn't put it on his head when it's on the body because of the collar on the back is actually in the way. But it's clearly too big because Sinister would be a little bit bigger than Magneto. Also with that too, I don't know how much I like his foot up like that. I think some of the display options it looks great, some of them it doesn't. And speaking of display options, you have so many. And I want to talk about this for a second before I show them to you. When I initially saw teasers, I'm like, oh, that's the only way I'm going to display it. Actually, I think right here, the way it is now. But I love them all. I really love them all. And they tell a little bit different story each time. So we're going to spend some time showing you these because I want to talk about it a lot. So first, look at the 5 different heads. This is crazy. You have the mullet head, which is from Age of Apocalypse, which I thought would be my least favorite, but I love it. I think it's really, really cool. And then you notice you have 3 with his mouth closed, and they look pretty similar, and there's some subtle differences. 1, he's a little more angry. 2, he's a little more smirking, but they face different directions when they're on his head, so that's the key. And then last, you have the evil one. So here's a close-up of that one specifically. In this one, he faces to the right, so you almost want to have the arm switch outs, what I have here. You have the right arm holding Cerebro, and the left arm concocting, creating fire. But you have a number of other arm switch outs. So here's another quick picture of kind of the whole of this. And you can mix and match. I never did, but I think the opportunities are endless. Here is the Age of Apocalypse one, the mullet, where he has his hands on the chairs, or on the sides of the chair. Now with this portrait, he's actually looking down, so it makes sense. You could either use these arms, or you could use these arms, where he's kind of scheming, planning, pressing his fingertips together like he's very pleased with himself. Another portrait you can use for that is one of the slightly smirking ones where he's actually looking down. And kind of that sinister smile right there. And this one, he's looking straight down. Then here's one very similar to it, but he's looking to the left. So this is the only portrait that looks to the left. So maybe if you had the flame that you saw earlier, he could be looking at that. Otherwise, it doesn't really make sense. Who knows where he's looking at? So I think the only hand display option you could use would be that. Then here's his angry portrait. And this looks straight out, which I like. Definitely an option. I think this would actually work with his palms down or his palms together. And I like it that he's angry. And not only do you have all those switch out options, and like I said, you can mix and match, one hand holding the fire and the other one on the chair, or one holding Cerebro, and you really couldn't do the palms pressed together unless it was both of them. But it has a light up feature you saw at the beginning. Check out this. So first, you can't see it very well in the camera, but his eyes light up really well in his pendant, his chest, head, and then the light up features on the chair. The light up features on this are phenomenal. They're really well done. I like it a lot more than I would expect. So I like the fact that there's not a lot of Sinister statues out there, and you have this one with tons of options. You can display him being, slightly evil, extremely evil, conquering his enemies, contemplating, thinking, looking left, looking right, the light up feature. Those are huge. The last negative I have before we grade this is the base is so big. It is so big. It's too big. I would have been okay to leave out all this crap and the light up features on the side and made it more suitable for the chair. I think the base is just too big, and I think that's a big negative. So normally, with all these negatives, this would normally fall into a U, a 2 out of 5. But I think because of the display and switch out options and so many different stories, I think that significantly upgrades this piece to a W. I love that part of it. I'm kind of, I said I was dick riding yesterday. I'm doing it again today. So now we're going to jump into the paint and sculpt, and most of the statue is the base and the chair. And there's a lot of stuff going in there that's not your traditional paint, not your traditional sculpt. Another thing you're going to look at, this guy's very, very dark. And I don't know how he's appearing on camera, but he's very, very dark. And I know that follows the theme of Sinister, but I think it takes away from the statue. And I think you'll see what I mean, or you might totally disagree with me. But let's look at this base. So on the sides here, you have all this tubing and the diamonds that light up. And the paint job on the base is, to be honest with you, it's not the best. It's very bland, doesn't pop. It's not supposed to. It's very evil, but they should have done more stuff to contrast it. It's very toy-like. And I think most of that has to do with the paint. I like everything they put into this regarding the sculpt and the design, but it doesn't seem like there's a lot of detail. And I'm kind of jumping around, but here's a good example. So check out this computer that's on the back, which, as I said, if this is a centerpiece, you'll see it. Otherwise, you don't. Very toy-like. But it might be, I don't know if it was meant to be that way because this is so futuristic. But check out the paint on the biohazard warning, especially on the warning. It's very poorly done. It bled off. So, as I said, kind of amateur-looking paint. And you also see that on the front armrest where his buttons are. I appreciate what they tried to do. And thankfully, a lot of these details you won't be looking at. They're on the sides or the back. But here's some other shots of the chair here. A lot going on, but just no detail in it. Check out the back here. If you can see through his cape pieces, almost very Thanos on throne with that tubing, except again, not very detailed. Check out Scott Summers here. I really like this. It looks real. You're like, that doesn't look like a human. That is probably, I'm guessing here because I wouldn't know, I don't do this, but that is probably what a human head would look like in floating liquid, a preservation material. I love how the hair's a little much, but it's flowing all over the place. He looks like he was screaming. There's even some red detail at the bottom of the neck where he was beheaded. And if this isn't Cyclops, someone shoot me. I'm pretty sure it is, but Wolverine, same thing. And notice Wolverine does have a different suit. This doesn't look as good as the head, but let's take a look at Mr. Sinister himself. You know, with his skin color, I know they're trying to follow the flow of the comic and the storyline. So it has reds, dark grays, and blacks. And with his silver skin color, which we can only see on his face, and the black throne, it makes the statue much darker. However, the paint is much better on Mr. Sinister. I like how it highlights different colors. It's not too shiny. It doesn't look old, but it looks semi-faded in a good way. And the sculpt is great. Great job on the boots you're looking at here. And then moving up, you see his uniform with folds and wrinkles in them. Good anatomy on his legs. Very strong, very powerful. And you don't see if he has a big package or not because he has some kind of nut cup in the middle, which is, you know, and then fantastic job, I think, on his anatomy in the middle. Very, very buff, very, very tight. And I love his costume up here. I love they added some silver in it. The red light up jewel in the middle looks really, really good. The silver has kind of some fadings on it. And I don't know if it was bad paint at the factory or if it's supposed to be that way. Check out the Cerebro helmet. I like how it's cracked on the back. A little bit different, but good paint on that. And then here's the Magneto head. We didn't look at that. Also crushed, old. Kind of shiny. And then check out his fire right here. I like this. It looks good. It reminds me of PCS Dalzine. Looks just like it, actually. I wish this would light up too. I think that would have taken this statue to the next level. And speaking of his arms, you can't really see great shots of him here, but just like his body, great anatomy, very tough. Costume looks great. Now, of all of his different portraits, they're all very, very similar, but let's start with his evil, sinister one. His skin, I think, is a little too Tin Man. Especially with the contrast of the statue. But I love the expression, and I think they nailed the likeness of Sinister. It's kind of a mix between a comic and a realistic one. Some great expression in his face. The hair is average. It's good. The strands are decent. Where it meets the head, looks okay. His teeth could have been better. The paint job covered up some of the sculpt on them. And I think, you know, his facial hair, it's all one piece. There's no individual strands in his beard or eyebrows. But because of the colors, you really don't notice it too much. But yeah, the silver color, I like it, but it just makes the statue much darker. So this very evil grin. Then let's just look at one of his that are very similar with the mouth closed. So the eyebrows, there's not as much expression above them. Tiny little smile starting, so you see more of his lips. Not as much wrinkles because he doesn't have that evil expression. And here's the Age of Apocalypse one. Again, I was surprised at how much I like this one. I actually really, really like it. But I don't want to display it because I want a normal Mr. Sinister. Very, very cool. Kind of a pouty lip on this one. And all the eyes are this whited out reddish resin color, so the light up feature can go through them. Here I switched out the Age of Apocalypse head, so it doesn't make sense for him to have these in his hands because he's looking down, and that's just kind of awkward. So the two that he looks down, you almost have to do the other poses with, and where he's holding them, you either have to do facing forward or facing left or right. But so I think paint on this, very bland, very left wanting. I actually have to give the paint, I think it's a 2. I think it's ugly. Could have been much, much better. I think the prototype was much better. So I think it's more of a factory execution. I understand a lot of the direction. It's so dark, though. Regarding the sculpt, I think the sculpt's good. There should have been a lot more detail in some of the areas we pointed out, but it's definitely not a bad sculpt. I think that goes to a... I think it's a V. It's a very nice 3 out of 5, which to me is not a bad score. Some of the size issues and detail that was left out and generic stuff all over. So kind of an interesting piece. I've never had a piece where the concept and design were amazing, were both higher scores than the paint and sculpt until today. So what do I think of this piece? Well, does it have the X factor? It's not an X statue, that's for sure. The paint and sculpt have to be much, much better. But this concept is phenomenal. The design, all the switch outs, that carries a lot of points for me, especially since it's a very, very cool, rarely done character, rare statue. I think that really helps it. I think people are going to seek after for this guy for a long time. And because of that, I think it's a rail, a 4 out of 5. Someone recently asked what a rail is. That means not a grail, but a statue people really want. So this is a 4 out of 5 overall as a statue. Very, very cool piece. It's not going to leave my collection. Hopefully I can get a replacement for the Wolverine. But check out some of my other Throne statues reviews. And stay tuned. Tomorrow we have an Age of Apocalypse custom Magneto that we are reviewing. That I've been waiting for forever. I waited 2 years for this guy, by the way. But yeah, appreciate you guys watching. Talk to you tomorrow. Take care.